What if I told you that right now, as you're watching this video, there is a man the entire United States government, the DEA, and Mexican authorities have been desperately hunting for years. And they still haven't found him? A man so powerful, so calculated, and so feared that his cartel shot down a military helicopter? A man who went from picking crops in rural Mexico to working labor jobs in San Francisco to building one of the most dangerous criminal empires the world has ever seen. His name is Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, but the world knows him by just two words: El Mencho. Stay with me, because this story is unlike anything you've heard before. This is the full, untold rise of El Mencho. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll understand why governments across the globe consider him one of the most wanted men alive. Welcome back to Crown Report. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we cover stories like this every single week. Now, let's get into it. Chapter 1. Where it all began. To truly understand who El Mencho is, you have to go back to where it all started. And it started in a place very far from the world of power, money, and violence that he would later come to control. El Mencho was born in the state of Michoacán, Mexico, a rural, agricultural region where many families struggled deeply with poverty. Growing up in the 1970s and 1980s in this part of Mexico meant hard work, very little money, and very few opportunities. His family, like many others in the region, were farming people. Simple people trying to survive. Now, here's something important to understand about this era in Michoacán. Thousands of young men from that region looked at their circumstances and made the same decision. They packed up whatever little they had and migrated to the United States, searching for work, searching for something better. El Mencho was no different. As a young adult, he made his way to the United States. Specifically, he ended up in San Francisco, California. In the beginning, he was doing what many immigrants do: basic labor, trying to get by, trying to survive in a country that wasn't his own. But San Francisco in the 1980s was also a city with a very active underground. Drug networks were operating between Mexico and California, moving product north and moving money south. And somewhere along the way, El Mencho crossed paths with those networks. He began building connections. Small at first, underground, below the radar, and then the law caught up with him. Chapter 2. Arrested, deported, and transformed. U.S. authorities arrested El Mencho on drug-related charges. He served time in prison. And when he was released, the United States did what it does with many convicted non-citizens. They deported him back to Mexico. Now, for many people, this would have been a wake-up call. A reason to walk away from crime. A second chance. For El Mencho, it was the opposite. Being deported back to Mexico in the 1990s didn't push him away from the criminal world. It pushed him deeper into it. Think about it from his perspective. He had connections now. He had experience. He had knowledge of how drug networks operated between Mexico and the United States. And he was back in a country where powerful criminal organizations were looking for exactly that kind of person. He joined the Mencho cartel. Chapter 3. Learning from the Mencho cartel. The Mencho cartel was a significant drug trafficking organization at the time, operating primarily in western Mexico, controlling parts of Jalisco and the surrounding regions. This wasn't a small street gang. This was an organized criminal enterprise with established smuggling routes, financial systems, and a hierarchy of power. For El Mencho, joining the Mencho cartel was like enrolling in a school for organized crime. And he was a very dedicated student. Over the years he spent rising through the ranks of this organization, he learned everything. He learned drug logistics, how to move large quantities of product without getting caught. He learned smuggling routes, which border crossings, which ports were safest and most profitable. He learned how cartel security structures worked, how to protect leadership, how to identify threats, how to deal with rivals and law enforcement. He was not flashy. He was not reckless. People who knew him from this period describe him as disciplined and strategic. Someone who thought carefully before making moves. And that reputation is exactly what helped him climb. But then, everything changed, because the Mencho cartel began to fall apart.